Hello and welcome back to Podcast with a K. I'm your host, Karla with a K, and I am joined here on this fine Sunday evening, morning, whenever it is you're listening to this, by Josh Allard.
Hello, everybody. How we doing?
It is a good day today. This is a longtime homie from school. Haven't had time to catch up in a while, so you guys are going to get to see that conversation happen in real time. So tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you've been up to. Give me your press briefing right now.
So, press briefing. Basically, my name is Joshua Allard. I am currently a video production coordinator for Big Night Entertainment Group outside of Boston, or in Boston. And they have a bunch of venues, bunch of concert venues, restaurants, and nightclubs all around New England and whatnot. So, like in Boston, we have Big Night Live, The Grand, Scorpion Bars. And then in Connecticut, we have Foxwood. Well, we have places within Foxwoods. We have Shrine, Scorpion Bar, Foxwoods, and a bunch of other places as well. And Big Night Live, which is connected to TD Garden.
That is awesome. So what is it that you do for them? Like, what is a day in your life?
So basically, I do a lot of their content creation. I'm a member of a team. There's 4 members now. On this team, my boss Kyle and 3 other guys, Robin, Sam, and now Joey, and I'm just one of the other guys. And we basically do all of their content creation. We film concerts, we film restaurant content, and then we also work through an edition of Big Night called Big Night Creative. So we work with brands such as Happy Valley and Syncoro.
Okay, that's actually
and
really
also
pretty cool.
Yeah, and also Encore Boston Harbor as well.
And how did you end up doing this? Is this what you always wanted to do?
So yes, I got into this space. So in college, I actually used to be an environmental scientist. I couldn't pass chemistry to save the life of me, and so I couldn't pass college chemistry. Failed it twice, and then I was looking to switch over to a major I actually liked, and then so I was looking around, and then while I was looking around, I was watching. I'm a massive Justin Bieber fan, like huge Justin Bieber fan. And this is when he was on the Purpose tour. And I used to watch all those tour recaps. And then it just clicked for me. I'm like, wow, people actually get paid to like follow the artists around and like film them and everything and like be best friends with them. So once that clicked, I was like, okay, I got to get a camera and learn how to use it. And I've always loved music, and I've always wanted to be like a part of like music stuff. And like I couldn't sing, I couldn't like play I can play instruments, but not very well. So I finally found a way for me to like be a part of like music and whatnot, and like through content creation. And so that's essentially how I got it. I was just like doing side gigs, working with smaller artists. And then one day Big Night just posted this opening, and I interviewed for it. And a couple interviews later, I got the position.
Just like that.
Yeah, and so like I filmed like a lot. I filmed like so many concerts. I filmed a bunch of nightclub events, and like just events, and just so many things overall. It's hard to describe in just like one little paragraph.
Well, honestly, that's one of the coolest stories. I love this trend that I've recently started realizing in people, where it's like you kind of start off doing the thing you think you're supposed to do. Whether or not you like it, that's one thing, but eventually you kind of do find your way into your niche, into what you want to be doing. And I will say, this is why I knew Josh would be a good guest and a friend of the show and a friend to me. Who else have y'all heard on this show say they're a fan of Justin Bieber? This is, I think, maybe the first person other than me to say that. Nice.
I had to. The worst part is I had to hold it in for like the longest time, like especially around the Baby era. Like I used to have to say like, oh, I hate that song, but then I would just be constant. I loved that song. Like as soon as I heard it the first time, I was like, I'm in love with this song.
Here's the thing with pop music, all right? You have to be able to appreciate it for what it is. Because Baby, originally I heard Baby, the acoustic version, because my defense was always like, oh, I followed him since he was on YouTube. Like, it's different. He wasn't like this before. And like, even though Baby is granted a very, very, very overproduced, like meant to be pop radio friendly song, it's not a bad track for the sake that it's catchy and it gets stuck in your head. So all those dislikes on YouTube mean nothing. You sat there and you watched that video.
Exactly. And like, it's so funny because you look back on it now and it's so tame compared to like
Yeah.
what music is. Like it's just like it's so it's just like, why was everybody so mad about it? Because he was just having fun and living life and just like releasing music. That's the thing. People, I feel like nowadays, a lot of people, and I think this is just because of Twitter and everything, a lot of people
Yeah.
are much more critical of music, or like it's just music is just fun. Let's just have fun and enjoy music.
Exactly,
Like,
dude. And like this was a kid. You have to realize he was like what, maybe 16, 17, 18. Like
literally 15, 16 when Baby dropped. It's like this dude was a child and like everybody
everyone just
hated him.
hated him. Oh my goodness. This every topic that I had lined up for the show out the window. This is a Justin Bieber fan club meeting right now.
Justin Bieber fan club meeting right now. I
will
love it though.
say,
We need more.
we need more of this content. And I will say something that I haven't gotten to address is I cannot believe he sold his entire musical catalog. Like that
Mhm.
level of separation for an artist is huge because previously to this, the only thing I'd seen similar was just Taylor Swift kind of relinquishing all of her old songs and just re-recording everything so that she could have
Mhm.
ownership of them. So it was kind of like a similar sense in which like none of the old stuff matters, but it was so that she could reclaim it. Bieber literally just said, "Deuces, man, I'm out," which sucks
Yeah.
because man, what am I gonna do now?
There's been a couple people that have sold their catalog recently. Like Future sold his
Yeah.
catalog, and like they have to know something that we don't.
Right. And I
And
don't know if it's like a management thing. I don't know if this means something about the labels, like, or maybe just the industry has just gotten to be that bad.
I I honestly I think it's about AI. I think it could be about AI because like we're really going into this whole new age of music now where you don't even need like all you need is like an artist like basically like literally their voice.
Yeah.
And you can make almost any song now. And that's the scary part right
Right.
now.
And
Like
it's
with AI.
it's crazy too because like it's not a new thing that you can make something out of someone's voice that already exists, right? Like, granted, before you had to sit there and you clipped everything together or you put somebody's like speech into a program that did it, but now it's so streamlined. You just need a sentence or a phrase that has like enough dips and valleys and enough consonant sounds, and you can essentially have them say anything you want. There was
Yeah,
this has been all over the
literally.
news recently, but like there was a song that was The Weeknd and somebody else, supposedly, right? And
The
everyone was like,
Weeknd and Drake. It
yeah,
was
and it
by
was like, oh my
Ghostwriter.
God, leaked song, crazy stuff. And it was completely false, but it sounded like them. And not just in voice, in style. Whoever put the work into that knew the patterns, I guess, of Drake and The Weeknd. And what's crazy to me is that like this isn't a new thing. Like Shmoyoho on YouTube, well, I guess started on YouTube, now everywhere, is the guy that does all of the like weird remixes. Like what he's most commonly known for now is the Corn Kid video. Like he'll take anything and just auto tune it into a song. So that was kind of like always a thing. You can take someone's one thing and turn it into someone's other thing. Or you have Seth Everman was kind of like on a huge blow up because he would be like, how to create Drake's one dance using just stuff around your house. And he'd be like shaking 3 coins or like recording the door hinges. So you can mimic a style of an artist and you can mimic the voice of an artist and turn it into something else. But now not having to put in any of the work yourself, just telling computer program, hey man, write me a Bieber song. And it
Yeah.
can is wild.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm pretty sure what happens is like you can take like I'm pretty sure like for like those songs like the one with Drake and The Weeknd, I'm pretty sure you can like actually like you can yourself record in that style and then you can literally just overlay the AI track onto it. And that's all it is. You can be like I came in da-na-na, 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 and then put that into the program like
Right.
of Drake's voice, and that's how you get that style. And then that's the crazy part about it all. You can literally sound like anybody now.
It's crazy. And it's more than anything, I think the wildest part is that it's so accessible because before you had to know something about computers, you had to have a little money to get the programs. And now, like, even without getting into the music stuff, Chat GPT, you literally just have to Google AI program here, right? And you
Yeah.
can have anything do anything for you for free up to a point,
Yeah.
right? Because processing power is still a thing that exists. But it's
Hmm.
insane that like,
Yeah.
your average 15-year-old kid in high school is going to grow up with this being the norm.
Yeah, exactly. Where you can literally just sound like anybody. And I wonder what's gonna happen if they're like, I mean, the like when is it going to be like ethically wrong where it's like, okay, this has to be a rule right here. We can't have it programmed to this.
Yeah, it's do you watch Black Mirror? Did you ever watch Black Mirror?
Of course I watched Black Mirror.
Do you remember the episode that Miley Cyrus is in where
Yes.
spoiler alert for Black Mirror, all right? Tune out for the next 5 minutes. Essentially in this episode what happens is Miley Cyrus's character is a pop star. Her aunt raises her. Her aunt essentially exploits her and just wants track after track to make the bank. And eventually she finds out Miley Cyrus's character, Ashley O, hates her life, hates everything. She feels trapped. She feels like she's in a cage. And so they essentially like drug her into a coma so that she can't like tell the world, oh, my aunt is terrible, as a manager. And they use, futuristic technology to get into her brain, pull out her thoughts, and then use other technology to turn said thoughts into a consumable pop song. And so that's kind of where we are now, I think, where you can take an artist's concept and turn it into a song without having to do anything.
I think the crazy part is we're probably gonna get into like copywriting like somebody's actual voice.
Yes.
Like that's literally going to be a thing now. You're gonna start seeing artists like literally copyright. That's never happened before where you have to copyright how you sound.
It's, yeah, like of all the things that a person can own, like in their own bodily autonomy, I think your voice is your safest because like your intellectual property, you speak an idea into existence. And if you didn't write it down fast enough, the guy that did gets the credit. Your voice is your own thing. Like someone can copy your likenesses, someone can Photoshop themselves to look like you, someone can get surgery to look like you. Your voice is yours, and no longer is that true. Even with freaking telemarketers, they tell you when you answer the phone for a random number, don't say hello, don't say yes, because they can then take your voice and turn it into whatever they need to be able to scam you and be like, oh, well, this guy told me I had access to his bank account. No, I didn't. All I did was say hello. That's not what the recording said, whatever. And so it's crazy because like my biggest thing has always been with AI, like who owns the content, the person who put in the prompt or the person who wrote the program that spit out the prompt, right? We haven't seen a lot of this happen because it's still fairly new and, fairly new, I guess, to the public eye. It's been around. It's just not been this widely used. And like you said, having to copyright your own voice is definitely going to be an issue that we face soon, especially with musicians and actors.
Yeah, and like one thing like going into like what I do with AI and everything, I think one of the very first like AI is going to take away a lot of jobs, and I think one of the very first ones that's going to take away is storyboard artists because it's going to be so much easier to literally just type in like a scene and everything and to get inspiration for something. And you still need like creative people and everything. You still need like the creative process of like,
okay, to type in the prompt, right? But
yeah, who actually knows like, okay, I think it'll be an extension at first, and then it'll get to the point where it's like, okay, we literally don't need like storyboard artists. We'll have somebody who's like a storyboard creative who can like type in like an entire like, okay, this is how it's gonna look. Camera angle this way, in this scene setting, and then from there it can mimic the type of vibe for the rest of the whole storyboard and everything.
Yeah, and here's kind of how I've thought about AI in the past, right? Like, I think more than anything, it's kind of a issue with, like you said, the creatives themselves, because you still need someone to tell the AI what to do, right? Like that job is still going to be there. You're still going to have your directors. You're still going to have your producers. The people you're going to lose are the people in the conceptual jobs, right? Like the people who pitch the projects, because that's what that's going to be used for. It's going to be used to set up the framework, and then someone's going to have to fine tune it, of course. But that's kind of where we're definitely headed. Like even yesterday I was talking to a friend and he made a joke and I made a joke back, and then we were like, yo, this would be a hilarious movie, we should actually write it. And we spent like an hour like, this could be this could be that, just like throwing ideas back and forth. We're not going to make a movie, but we could make the movie, right? Let's just see where this could go. And eventually we got to the point, what if we just asked ChatGPT to write the plot? And so we went and we did it just so we could have a laugh at it. And we're like, well, this isn't even what we asked it for at all. So we like spent a little bit of time fine tuning it. And that's a part of what that job is going to be like in the future for somebody, learning how to talk to AI, because, the way that it perceives words is very specifically how you phrase it, right? But like we
Yeah.
sat there kind of just feeding it back and forth, trying to get the prompt that we wanted, rather than just taking that main first draft and then us editing it and workshopping it. We just kept
Mhm.
giving that to the AI, right? Which is
Yeah,
crazy because
exactly.
this is just us having fun. Like this has no stakes. And at the end of it, we were like, this is actually kind of good. We should make this movie. But it lost so much of what our original concept was just because what AI is doing, right, is it's sourcing ideas from everything else that's on the internet. And that's something that I
Mhm.
think is kind of overlooked. Like it's not original content. It's pulling
Yeah,
successful tasks from other people, from other articles, from other stories. And it's just kind of
from trending topics.
yeah, and it's just giving that back to you. So of course it's going to be successful. In my previous contract, my boss was always like, "Oh, you should ask AI for like ideas on what to do." And I'm like, "I could do that, and I will do that just to verify that what I'm seeing on the timeline is accurate, but I can see what's trending. I can go to the trending page and see that, or I can ask AI to just go ahead and do that for me." Right? So you
Yeah,
lose a little bit of the nuance of perception because you're letting the computer perceive it instead and just tell you what it thought.
Mhm. I will say though, like some of these AI photos now and videos are getting like way too good. Like there's been like a lot with like stable diffusion, and even like there's
Yes.
like there's this one video app and it's on the iPhone right now. I'm gonna look it up right now. It's called Runway ML.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like it only takes like 8-second clips or whatnot, but it's like one things that people have been doing is like creating claymation videos just from like you like can have your friend like walk across the screen and everything, and like can turn it into like a claymation video or like whatever style that you want.
That
It
is
takes
insane.
yeah, it takes like a lot of like processing power, but like
It can
I
do
wish
it.
I wish I could show it right here, but like you can turn like your pet into like a cartoon. You can literally make yourself into clay art. You can turn yourself into an android. You can turn like any scene into a sci-fi world and
It's the
everything.
advanced version of like Snapchat and TikTok filters.
Yeah, literally that's what we're going into, like this incredibly like advanced world of just everything. And I think I think what AI do, it'll make things a lot easier and a lot harder.
Yeah.
Um like it'll like one example of AI is like Jarvis in Iron Man. Like
Mm-hmm.
Tony Stark uses it as an extension. So like
Yeah.
he's already like an unbelievably smart guy. He's just using Jarvis to like help him out.
Yeah.
And
And Jarvis is
that's
his brain essentially programmed into he's essentially being able to talk to himself as an outsider.
yeah, exactly. And so that's like what a lot of people are using Chat GBT for recently. But like when you get into like stable diffusion and everything, you can create like and it's not like how it was like 2 years ago with AI where it's like like the people have like 10 fingers. It's starting to get to the point where
It's
it's like
really clean.
yeah, it's starting to get way cleaner. Like people are like having the Pope dripped out and
Oh my
like
goodness. The freaking Pope
yeah,
in the puffer jacket at the DJ
yeah, and the
table.
puff, yeah,
Phenomenal.
and the puffer jacket and stuff like that. But that photo looks incredibly realistic. Or like Donald Trump getting arrested outside of Trump Tower with all the police
Yeah.
and everything.
Right.
Like that's starting to look crazy. And so, like going into the video aspect of that too, I saw a video where it was like somebody asked a program, I forgot which program, I can't name it off the top of my head, but you can find it on YouTube, where they're like, make a beer ad, make like
Yeah.
a party beer ad. And it kind of scared me because I know in 2 years it's gonna start looking really good.
Yeah.
It was nightmare inducing because there was like people with like mouths that would like open up like to like their face and
Right.
everything. But it was able to create a program and create its own original track and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say own original track because it's taking information from elsewhere.
But
But
it manifested something from that.
yeah, exactly. And that's scared me because you see like the stable diffusion where it's like a single frame. You're like, oh, that doesn't really affect me. That's just photo. But then you see video now, and that's the part that's like crazy because you're gonna start seeing like, and especially with like animation too. Animation's probably gonna get a lot easier, but
Well, I
like
have
it's
a
gonna
friend
be a
that was
lot hard.
telling me exactly that specifically Stable Diffusion, she did the frame by frame thing, but you can only do, up to a certain amount because of the processing power. And then if you
Hmm.
download this, if you do this, if you do that, you get to a point, or maybe it's a different program. She was literally just telling me about it this morning, but it's like essentially it'll spit out actual clips, like a 200 frame clip. It'll do it for you. It'll actually do the animation for you, and you still have to fine tune it, of course. But that's insane to me.
It's absolutely incredible. I don't know where it's gonna go, but it blows my mind every time I see it, and there's just gonna be a lot of changes. And I think one thing I think is gonna happen. I think I gotta take a second to put my thoughts together for this.
Go ahead.
What I think's gonna happen, I think there's gonna be a lot more regulations and rules than there was with like social media and like Internet 2.0. I think you remember when they said like Internet 3.0 was gonna be like NFTs and everything?
Yeah.
It's literally
we lost to AI.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be AI in AR and VR. That's what Internet 3.0 is gonna be. AI, VR, AR, and internet privacy too, and like encryption.
It's absolutely unexpected, and I think it's crazy that like whenever going back to like the filters and stuff, whenever like AR filters first started coming out, everyone was like, oh, they're using it for facial recognition. They're just going to update your information to whatever. And my perspective was always like, they already have that, like your concern for your safety is, it's admirable. But like, if you're a resident of any country in the world, they have your fingerprints, they have your DNA, they have your photo and your license, wherever it is. Like they already have that. They already have videos of you. They can do facial tracking in a numerous amount of ways. Maybe, right? Having like your phone do it for you, maybe that's going to get sold to them. They already have it. That was never my concern. So I was always like, what are they going to do with all this information? Why do they want to like fine tune like the facial detection software so much? And I think this is that. This is what they were going for this whole time. Like 10 years ago, the concern was like, oh, the government's going to have they already have it, man. Calm down. This is 10 years later. This is where we are now. And this is what they're doing with it. They're using it, whoever they is, right? But like they're using that technology in order to be able to perfect this artificial space. And not to get too much into like the tech sphere, but I saw yesterday an article that this is a tangent. Elon Musk's Neuralink brain chip has been approved for human trials. And so my immediate question, I was like, where does AI come into this? How is this going to affect that? And vice versa. Because if you now have a chip in your brain to do whatever, like, you're supposed to do, like, oh, you can transmit thoughts. No, that chip is going to turn into some Black Mirror nonsense. What are they doing with the technology of being able to read your, even if not your thoughts, like your mental impulses?
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole crazy world that we're going into. And I'm excited to see it, but, I'm excited to see it, but I have no predictions on like what's going to happen next. I think it's just going to be like take it one thing at a time.
Yeah. As a fan of tech, I'm so excited. Learning Python, even if it was for like a year, like it was crazy. You can give a computer a block of words and have it write out a sentence for you. Insane to see that applied in the large scale. As an artist, concerned, because what does that mean for my livelihood? As a human person in a world of robots, little tiny itty bitty baby a bit scared, all right? Like I don't want to have to fight a robot. I can't fight a robot. They're made of metal. I'm made of human.
We'll just unplug it.
Unless
you know what's funny?
Just unplug it.
So I remember in my first ever new media studies class, that was my major in college.
Same. Yes.
I got laughed at because I'm like, we're gonna have to get to a point where we have to decide, okay, what makes somebody human, and is there probably going to be robot rights?
Yes. Oh my goodness, 100%. You remember the video? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying like people laughed at me for it. They called me crazy, and I'm like, no, like it's gonna happen. We're gonna have to make laws, like because robots are probably gonna start having feelings soon, and be like, well, like I think AI is gonna get to the point where it's like, some AI one day is gonna be like, well, why do I have to do this program? Well, you're telling me what to do, right, but I'm doing it.
It's like Interstellar, where you remember the part where he adjusts how much humor it has and it makes a joke, and then it starts like self-destructing, and he's like, all right, down 10%. And he says something else, he's like, do you want it to go down another 10%? Like if it can have that level of conversationality and personality, imagine if you accidentally program it to be like, I mean, we're gonna have military bots, of course, but imagine you program like a house bot to be combative. How are you gonna tune that down? If it's combative, you're not gonna be able to tell it to turn itself down.
Or what if there's like an error in the code where it doesn't recognize you? Stuff
Insane.
like that.
Insane to think
It's
about.
it's all crazy. There's so many possibilities with
Dude,
it.
if I wear too much makeup, my phone does not know who I am. How am I supposed to deal with the government drone?
how, you, how you gonna deal with a government drone? Like it's like you're hungover one day or something. And you're like you went to like a concert one night and you just had a little bit too many drinks and you're like your face is like all like you
Yeah.
just look completely different and you're walking down the street and or like walking into a store and like some facial recognition is like, oh, you're not this person. And then you got like a bunch of cop
Yeah.
cars coming in. And you're like, no, I just look horrible today.
You're
Stop.
trying to explain it to the cops, but it's not cops, dude. It's just more robots.
Yeah, it's just more robots and they keep on seeing
No
you. And
one
then like
recognizes you.
the manager comes out and it's just a human.
That's honestly what we should be more like focused on, because I'm sitting here like, oh man, there's a new freaking feature in After Effects or in Premiere where you can just have it edit a podcast for you and just like find the facial reactions and the changes in voice, and it does it all for you. What am I gonna do when I no longer can get editing jobs because of the AI? I'm sitting here so worried about that when I should be worried about facial recognition and police bots.
Yeah, exactly. Like them not actually recognizing you, and then it gets to the point where it's like some like actual human has to come down and like verify for you. That's just a headache for your day and everything.
Yeah, and that's assuming a human can come and get to you, because already there's a shortage of people who of first responders, right, who can come and neutralize or verify a situation. If all of those jobs do get outsourced to in 10, 50, 100,000 years from now, right? Whenever that happens, if that all gets outsourced to bots, like how far up the chain of command is a person? Like it's already started. You can't talk to a person if you need help with any Meta-owned business like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. None of those can you talk to a person anymore. Like it's all just help forms. I think it's been like almost 10 years since the last time you could ask to speak to a representative. There's no number listed. There's nowhere in like the help chats. You just have to hope that the bot understands what you're asking. And that's just social media. That's going to trickle over into every other industry.
I think one of the very first jobs that's going to have AI in first responders is 911 calls.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I think that's going to be the biggest one.
Which helpful, because then more people can get into help. However, of all jobs, I think it's the ones that do the gatekeeping, and gatekeeping is a buzzword now, I know, but like the jobs in which you're getting access to a service, I think that's awful, because you're totally 100% right. But I feel like it's that person that is approving the service that has to be a person, because there's only so much that a bot can identify, and how do you explain a bizarre situation to a robot?
Yeah, or how do you explain like a person's level of concern in their voice and everything?
Yeah, I think there has
Like
to.
how do you program that?
And I would hope that the people in charge of these decisions would have the same conversation we're having now, in which they realize that the first responder still has to have some degree of humanity, and then up the chain of command between first responder and big boss, those can all be bots. But I do think that the first person that you see should still be a person. I was going to say earlier, you were talking about bot rights. Do you remember this like viral clip of like some robot that was made to look like kind of like a dog on its hind legs, like a kangaroo almost? And the people that programmed it were like trying to tip it over to see if it could maintain its balance. And everyone was like, oh my God, they're bullying him. No, stop
They're bullying
that.
the dog. Yeah.
Like humans
Literally.
will pack bond with anything. And so like that video alone, it isn't anything. It's just a thing with legs. And everyone was like, the bot though.
Yeah, they'll like push it off the thing or like punch it and whatnot. It's crazy. It's all crazy. And like
everyone's instinct was to like ask about the robot.
Yeah, not just be like, well, it's actually just it's not even a human. Yeah. And like what that's the big question though. What makes something human? And we're going to get that probably within 5 years or so.
Because right now the answer is simple, right? A carbon-based life form with a working heart and brain, right? Like that's kind of the agreed upon. If you got blood coursing through your veins, at some point, whenever because there's gonna even it's gonna start with prosthetics. It's going to extend, of course. Like at some point, we're gonna have like proper cyborgs, I'm sure, and that's gonna be the question: how much robot can you be before you no longer constitute as a person?
It's gonna be Cyberpunk.
It's gonna be Cyberpunk.
It's gonna be. I wish I could do it in time, but I was gonna pull up the Cyberpunk like 2077 theme right now. Wait.
We can swap out your closing song.
That'll be my closing song, the Cyberpunk 2077 theme.
That works out just fine. Well, we have reached the end of your segment, Josh. Thank you so much for doing the show. Is there any final closing remarks, statements, etc., shout outs that you would like to give?
I just want to give a shout out to my boss Kyle for always being amazing. If he even listens to this, but if he does, I love you, Kyle. I love you more than anything, and you're amazing. And I love all my coworkers. And I want to say thank you to Podcast with a K for always being amazing and for continuing the good vibes since Eastern.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your kind words. Shouts out Kyle if he doesn't want to sit here through this entire tangent of AI. Timestamp is like 30 minutes and 10 seconds or something like that. You can click through, you'll find it.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being here, Josh. We'll be signing off with Cyberpunk theme song, apparently. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much for doing the show. All right, welcome back to the show. I am joined now by our second guest of the episode, local artist to the Thomasville, Piedmont Triad, North Carolina area, Kenrick Jobe.
Awesome. Well, my name is Kenrick Jobe. I'm 28 years old. I live in Lexington, North Carolina, and I went to East Carolina for college. I'm a local visual artist, so I do this full time. I do a whole lot of different commission, like I draw pets and a lot of people's kids and family members who have passed away. It's what I'm most passionate about, and I do it every day. It's what wakes me up in the morning. So I'm just lucky to be able to do it.
And that is a great mentality to have when you're trying to make something happen. So tell me a little bit about how you found yourself into the arts, especially in an area where it's unfortunately not a common thing to pursue.
Well, I've always really been into art. Ever since I was younger, as long as I can remember. I got a whole lot of support from my family members. So my mom and dad were always really big supporters of me. And I also had an uncle who was really good at art, drawing, and painting a little bit too. So like he would come over and draw superheroes and anime characters and stuff like that. And it used to get me going as a kid. And I never really let go of that. Like to this day, I'm 28 now, but like I remember being, below the age of 10, just doing my best to always have a piece of paper on me and a pencil, or a crayon or whatever it is that I had. So I always had it in me, but I definitely had family members that didn't block my my creativity. They enhanced it, they supported it.
That is actually really awesome, especially in a place where the arts aren't a very common thing to pursue. North Carolina, of course, is known for the School of the Arts, but in the past decade or so, a lot of the art initiatives that we had have kind of been trying to resurface, because there was a time where the emphasis was definitely placed upon STEM-based careers or agriculture. And so luckily in recent years, we've seen kind of, again, that revival of bringing the arts to the state, because it was such a huge part of it. We used to have massive film industry before everyone moved to Atlanta or Florida or New York or LA. And with that, of course, comes a lot of other art-based jobs, including, like you said, visual artists. But it's really, really, really dope that even so, we still have people like you who are doing what's necessary to kind of keep that alive and trying to do it big. You mentioned in previous talks that we had to doing the show, another local artist who's a really big name from your city.
Yes. When I think of art and when I ask around about art, ever since I moved here, I'm originally from Jersey. I moved here when I was 12. Bob Timberlake, he's like the definition of art around here. He is someone who's led the wave and in design and painting and whatnot since like the 80s. You know,
Wow.
this guy's been a big deal. And I was able to meet him one time and he took a picture with me. And it's little things like that, uh, that like, you know, he gave me words of encouragement. It's little things like that that I feel like are so important in the growth of someone, regardless of what it is that they do, to have someone that's already done what it is they're trying to do, encouraging them and smiling with them and just giving them nothing but positivity. That's what I got from Bob Timberlake.
And would you say that having been able to speak to someone like that who's clearly and well merited as at that, who's clearly an idol, do you think that has been what has inspired you to kind of pursue this as a full-time like main gig thing?
Definitely. There's examples, you know, everywhere of multiple ways of going about doing things career wise, but I feel like he was the guy that I wanted to be like.
Right.
And to be able to see him do it and be successful at it, it let me know, okay, it's possible. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. He definitely without him even trying, he he encouraged me to really keep going and take it seriously, you know.
Right. And it's really cool to see also that someone like him, right? Like this is him. He's in the big leagues. Just one small smile and words of encouragement, like that's what kicks off someone like you, like
Yeah.
your career, your path. And who's to say you're not going to be that next big name from Thomasville, right? Like, or from Lexington, sorry. Like if it's got to be somebody, why not you?
Right. Exactly. And I'm like when I get the opportunity to talk with people like yourself, it lets me know, okay, you know, I'm doing something right. Maybe it really can happen. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's always I count all my blessings and I'm just thanking God these days for opportunities like this.
Yeah, and you've been doing a lot of outreach things, right? I saw that you've been speaking at schools about doing art, and you've been showing your work to the kids.
Yes, I have. I always love kids. I don't have any of my own yet. I always love being able to conversate and pick the brains of some of these kids because, man, I feel like kids are so slept on. You know what I mean? Like there's young kids that are so smart and so like attentive that
Mm-hmm.
like um you can learn from them. You know what I mean? You can learn from anybody. Like and so like I go there and I speak to them about what it is that I do. I've been invited to a couple of different schools, but a lot of the times like I'm leaving, I feel like I'm leaving learning more than they learn from me. You know what I mean? Like these kids are just next level. Like I don't know if that's always been the case or what, but like that's what I noticed, especially around here. I've been to schools in Thomasville. I've been to schools in uh I've been to a school here in Lexington. I've been to my high school, and every single time it's nothing but uh positivity, and I can tell that some of these kids are truly inspired to see what it is that I do. And I think that is the best thing I could do with the gift that I have. You know what I mean? Just to be able
Oh
to
yeah.
inspire others, you know?
100%. And that's super powerful because you're guiding that path for somebody else the same way that, for example, Bob Timberlake inspired your spark to want to do this big time. You're
Yes.
most definitely inspiring a kid that likes to doodle in the corner of their notebook to actually pursue this and do something with it. Because, like you said, if you're doing, for example, portraits of somebody and their loved ones, that means something to them. It's not just monetary value for the artist, that's sentimental value for the consumer. And it doesn't have to just end at that, right? Like art is a strong way to send a message, to make an impact.
Yes, definitely. And these kids, it's the possibilities are endless with them. You know, I see my potential, and then it's like someone that's half my age, you know what I mean, that's able to see what I and learn from me, they're gonna be even better, you know.
So, is there something that you want people to take away from your art? Is there a point you're trying to get across, a message you're trying to convey, or is it kind of just you following your passions and inspiring others to do so?
That's a good question. I've been asked that before, um, about like what is what is it that I really want people to take from my, and I'll be honest, like I've always had trouble answering because um I try to give pieces of me in my art. So it's like, and I, as you know, everyone is made up of different things. You know what I mean? So it's like one piece, it might symbolize something that some a sad point in my life. You know what I mean? And then another piece might symbolize something that's like that had me really happy, or you know what I mean, like symbolizes happiness.
Right.
So I'm not sure exactly what I think. I think if anything, I would want the audience to uh, relate to it in their own way.
Find their own meaning.
Right, right. Like I don't want to put my ideas on the viewer. I want the viewer to have their own and keep it that way. If that
This
makes
is,
sense.
yeah, it makes perfect sense. And this is really interesting that you would bring this up because we had a guest a couple of weeks ago, a singer, and he kind of said something similar about the music that him and his band makes. Zachary Charles from Arizona mentioned that he similarly, whenever they write songs, they write it for themselves, but whatever it is that it means to them is not the same as it means to anybody else. So rather than uh, even though it is a snapshot to whatever it is that they were going through at that time, whichever one of the guys or the writers, it's not meant to be that for anybody else. It's meant to give somebody else a way to connect in their own way, with their own story, with their own thought. And I find it so very interesting that that's present even in visual art, in painting.
Definitely, definitely. That's exactly how I do it. So I love the fact that there's artists out there that relate to that.
Yeah.
You know, so many other, in visual arts, you'll get the in galleries and whatnot, you'll get the paragraph, uh, little story piece, you know what I mean, next to it. And I always had trouble like writing a paragraph. I always had trouble like coming up with what it is that I wanted to say next to it. Because I don't
Right.
really want to say, you know what I mean? I want the art to speak for it, you know?
I relate to that wholeheartedly. So, another reason that I was excited to have you on the show is I personally also have always been a fan of the arts. Granted, for me, it's one of many things. I feel like the way that I would describe myself is more of a jack of all artistic trades. So even though painting is a part of what I do, whether it's landscapes or portraitures and commissions, whatever it is, it's one of the things. So I was very excited to talk to somebody who's this is their main thing and kind of pick your brain about it because my latest painting that I did myself, it was a couple of years ago. That was not commissioned, something that I did for me. I, the series of the dogs playing poker.
Yes, yes, I have.
So there was a time when I was learning to play poker. I was in college, and I had friends of all different backgrounds, and we got to talking because one of them brought back a poster of that painting, and we were so excited about it because it was so funny to have in the background while we were trying to learn poker and we were getting to know each other. And at some point, somebody made the joke that dog backward is God. And so they were like, look at us right now. In this instance, we are basically gods playing poker. And I was like, say that again. Um, because it's true. Like within that, and granted, this isn't to say anything about any religion. I have my beliefs. I believe in a God. That doesn't mean what anyone else believes. In that moment, that was the coolest way to look at it because we were creating a space, right? In which all of us were able to be our own form of a powerful entity and kind of just fully dedicate ourselves to that moment. And that conversation never left my mind because after that we got to discussing what everyone's individual beliefs were. And people always tell you don't talk money, politics, or religion. And in that space, we found ourselves talking about pretty much all of that. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever because it was such a cordial, just let me into your mind type conversation. There was no judgment, no anything. And so my final year of college, I finally started painting it because I had to get it out. And to this day, like that painting to me is what it is. So I painted gods from different religions playing poker. And to me, that painting is simply just a memory of a conversation that I had. But whenever I shared it, I had a couple of people tell me, yo, that's kind of controversial though. Like, what are you trying to say about like world religions? And I was like, I'm not trying to say anything. I just think it's a really cool concept. And to me, it's just a conversation that I had.
I love that. I love that you have people that you were able to confine and be yourself around. That's really important.
Yeah, it was one of those once in a lifetime moments where you realize you finally found the right people to stick with you. And all of those people we've all gone our separate ways in the world. We all do very different things. Some people even transferred out of school and I didn't know them for the next however many years. But to this day, whenever we do get back in contact, it's the type of conversation that just never stopped, right? Like we haven't spoken, but the mindset is still there. And those are the types of people that I like to surround myself with. You know, people who are not even necessarily creatives, but people who have the ability to think beyond, you know, what the everyday, which again is why I think art is so important. I was asking, is there a piece that you've done like that wasn't a commission, that wasn't for work, just a piece that you kind of put a little bit of yourself into, and it's a painting that you look back on kind of with that same sense of like epiphany or realization?
Piece that I'm working on right now. It's inspired by a photograph that I saw. And this photograph is by this guy that paints and draws from Mexico.
Oh wow.
Yes, and he's a pretty amazing artist. He has a much bigger following than me. And but like what is their rural country part of Mexico, and he takes pictures all the time. So he'll take pictures of like cactuses and rocks and fields and stuff like that. And sometimes he takes pictures of his dad and like some of his family members. And I'm working on this piece. He doesn't know that I'm doing it, but it's a fairly big size. I want to say it's bigger than 20 by 24. It's
Wow.
maybe 20 by 30, something like that. And it's a sketch. And basically it's from this picture that he took of his dad, and I want to say maybe it's his uncle or something like that. This much older guy sitting on a wall of rocks. The one that's a little bit younger, that I'm pretty sure is his dad. He has like a stick, like a stronger stick, and he has like sneakers on. And then the other older gentleman has these sandals on, and he has like this more steel uh steel cane, like the ones that you have in the hospital, you know what I mean? Like, but he's smiling. They both have mustaches.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like I saw the picture, I saved it to my phone, and I was just like, that's an amazing picture. I want to draw that. You know what I mean? I'm sitting in my car right now, and I have it in the trunk. Like I drive around everywhere with it because I don't have my own like real storage or studio yet, and I
Right.
don't want anything bad to happen to it. So I keep it with me all the time.
It's
So
that important to you.
yeah, yes, it's that important because both of my parents, they're Guyanese. So they're Guyanese immigrants. So I come from a more Caribbean background.
Hmm.
For some reason, I don't know if it's because my mom always used to listen to, like Zumba music. He's into fitness or whatnot. I don't know what it is, but like ever since I was younger, I just always wanted to know Spanish, and I always wanted to experience that culture more. So
Right.
getting back to this piece is like it's symbolism for that, like my appreciation and my love for a place that I've never been to.
Right.
And also it's like my way of showing appreciation and respect for an older generation.
That is a beautiful sentiment. And we talked in the first segment of the show about AI kind of being integrated into the arts and entertainment space. And this conversation right here is what kind of keeps me from going into panic mode anytime I think about it, because there's still a degree of humanity, I think, that is what makes art art. My perspective is that AI art is art. It's just not the same type of art because somebody sat there and programmed it to draw from other people's art and create a concept. So there's a certain art to that, right? To the programming. I think the programmer is the artist in that case, and more so than someone who types in a prompt, right? You might have had the idea, but you didn't create the art. A program did, right? But at the end of the day, when people are like, oh, well, because of AI, artists are going to lose their jobs, I think that I find comfort in knowing there's people like yourself or like Josh in the first half of the show or any of the artists that I know or have ever interacted with. There's a certain craving for that sense of humanity, right? For that personal touch that I think keeps artists safe, right? Like it's easy to go on Amazon and buy something that was, made super fast and super cheap somewhere overseas, but it feels different than when you go to a festival and you buy something that was handcrafted by an artisan, right? Like there's still some degree of intrigue in having something made by a person that feels the same way that you do.
For sure, for sure. I've I've conflicted feelings about it.
Sure.
Um,
Do tell.
I've done a little bit of research and I've seen some people. In fact, on Instagram, I follow a couple of Instagram pages that like use Mid Journey
Yeah.
and programs like that. That literally like all they do is they post these AI images that they've uh, put together,
Mm-hmm.
on the program. And I'd say it's tricky because at first I was saying say no to AI art. Like I
Right.
was just I heard about the fact that the program uses other artists' art in order to create its own thing, and a lot of the times artists have a long history of being taken advantage of,
Right.
and not really getting their flowers like while they're alive.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I'm
Definitely.
I'm kind of you know little emotional, a little bit against something that might do something like that, especially since it would affect me too.
Right.
Like it's what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, I've seen certain images that have been created by AI that makes me go, you know, and that's where it's like it's the line is blurred now. I feel like,
Yeah.
and so like for
Well,
instance, I do a lot of digital painting. So I
yes.
work on Procreate on my iPad Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing that for quite some time now. Like I want to say maybe 6, 7 years now, and 6 years.
Sure.
And like I remember doing the art and then putting it, like making prints of it and putting it out there for people to see. And a lot of the times I would be asked the same question. Yes, and uh, the question is, that's a wow. Uh, this piece of artwork is amazing, man. Did you draw it? Like, is it real art,
Yeah.
or did you make it, or did you do it digitally? I'm this is a piece that's made from scratch. It's not something that I'm not taking a photo and editing it, you know what I mean, or putting pictures together. Like I'm actually drawing it, on the iPad with my hand. And but a lot of people didn't understand that,
Right.
and I feel like a lot of people don't really have an appreciation for that because when they think of art, they have a specific idea in mind, and that isn't involving computers for the most part.
Yeah.
So when I think of this AI, I feel like art is one of those terms, one of those subjects that we as a race, as a human race, haven't fully grasped yet.
Right.
You know, like it's been around for as long as we have, and it's constantly evolving.
Yeah, art is going to continue to evolve along with people because even whenever digital art became such a strong medium, I remember I, as a traditional artist, felt conflicted because I was like, this simplifies so much. It lessens the cost of supplies and you can create easier and quicker. But there was this part of me that couldn't let go of the fact that I had to learn how to load a brush, how to prep for watercolor. And some kid with an iPad is going to grow up at 10 years old and just doodle, and they're going to get paid, and I'm going to be doing what? Am I going to get left behind? Am I an old head now? Like what is going to happen to my craft with the new generation? And eventually you kind of just have to make your peace with it. Now, primarily, I do a lot of digital art, funnily enough, right? And so it's kind of about not fearing the change, but learning what it is about that change that makes it successful. So for me, what I was thinking about with AI art, how different really is it from, people using this as a way to kind of draft their concept versus when people go to Walmart and they'll buy a poster rather than buying a painting from an artist, right? There's going to be people that are going to use AI art, but at the end of the day, the people that want art, the people that want traditional art, whether it's digital, whether it's painted, the people that want art that was made by another person are going to keep doing that because whoever it is that is buying into AI art was probably not going to buy a painting anyway. And so now our challenge as artists becomes to convince somebody, hey, AI is super sick, very cool. Maybe I even used it to draft my concept, but let me make you a painting.
Right. I feel like maybe like a horse owner or something like that, like someone that had like a horse in a carriage, and
Right.
then see people with like these cars, and I'm like, yo, hold on, like
Exactly.
horses, we still need horses.
Right. That is a great takeaway as our time draws to a close. We still need horses. Thank you so much for doing the show. Thank you so much for talking to me about your art and your craft. Is there any final remarks, statements, or takeaways or shout outs that you would like to do now?
Yes, I'd like to say thank you so much for taking the time and having the patience to make this happen. Um, I want to say continue doing what you're doing, continue smiling and being passionate about what you do, and I'm positive I'm gonna run into you here soon. So I look forward to it.
Of course, and likewise, and I think that that's a good message for everybody to take away. If you're pursuing something that you're passionate about, do it because you don't know who you're going to meet through it. You don't know where it's going to take you. And
Right.
if it's got to be somebody, why not you? And we're that generation, we're the ones making it happen.
We got it.
All right, you have a closing song for us. What are we listening to as we sign off for the night?
Um, there's this song called PRC.
Mhm.
And it's by Peso, Pluma, and Nathaniel
Mhm.
Nathaniel Cano.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. And it's a song. It's not necessarily like uh the most um bubbly nice song, but it's something that gets me going and gets me hyped, and I like the instrumental. So the song.
All right. Well, Ken, thank you so much. I'm Karla with a K for Podcast with a K. Signing off. We will catch you next week. Same station, same link, same wherever you're listening to right now. New nonsense, a new guest. For the time being, enjoy.